Today we're going to be talking about the Temur Ignus combo deck in Explorer. And this is my favorite combo deck. The deck is based off of its namesake, Grinning Ignus. Now, if you are reading this card and you're saying to yourself, well, I can see how this is a combo piece, it's pretty evident that by returning it to its hand and reducing the cost that it costs to play it, or reducing its activated ability, could potentially make you go infinite in terms of the number of plays that you are casting this card for. And that's exactly what we're going to do here in this. So, Grinning Ignus being a 3-mana 2/2 that can return itself to its owner's hand and then add mana to the mana pool, it's essentially like a repeatable ritual. And the 2-card combo that we are going to be looking at first here is with bur-gee, God of Storytelling. Now, bur-gee is a 3-mana 3/3, and whenever you cast a spell, it adds a red mana. So essentially, as soon as you have bur-gee on the battlefield, you can cast Grinning Ignus and return it back to its own hand using the mana created from this passive ability. Now, although that is an infinite enter the battlefield trigger, that doesn't win us the game, it just allows us to stall out. So what do we need to win the game? Well, there's a couple different ways. The main way that we're going to be talking about here is with Devilish Valet. Now, this is only a 2-of in the deck, but we'll get to that in just a second. Devilish Valet is amazing, as all you need to do is essentially draw into it when you're rolling through this process. Because you can, with the mana that we're making, and we'll get to that in just a second, we can cast this card. It has haste, so it can attack on that same turn, so you don't have to play it, leaving it open to removal or board wipes. And then, whenever you are casting your Grinning Ignus and using a loop of some type to bring it back to your hand, it gets double power each turn. And so usually, you can probably stop when you get to 32. Sometimes you can even stop at 16 if your opponent is open board and you've been attacking into it. But usually, you can safely stop at 64 as it's got trample and haste, unless your opponent is not tapped out, in which case we'll go to our second win con, and that's with Banefire. Obviously, if we're making infinite mana, we simply Banefire for whatever X amount over your opponent's life, just to be safe. So how do we get infinite mana with just bur-gee and Grinning Ignus? Well, the first way is with Hazoret's Monument. By reducing Grinning Ignus' cost, we get a colorless each time that we recast Grinning Ignus. It's a fantastic way to do it, and it makes the rest of your creatures cheaper, which is great. Obviously not all of them, because we don't have only red, and we'll get to that in just a second here. We also have Runaway Steamkin, which it in and of itself, as long as you have 3 red mana, can combo with Grinning Ignus. So let's say that Grinning Ignus is in your hand and you have Runaway Steamkin on the battlefield. The ideal scenario is to already have the 3+1/+1 counters on Runaway Steamkin. That way you can start the repeated ritual effect with Grinning Ignus and remove those 3+1/+1 counters from Runaway Steamkin to add those 3 red mana individually. Then, as you're casting Grinning Ignus, using that first ability on Runaway Steamkin, you're going to get more and more +1/+1 counters, and thankfully, with 3 casts, you only use 3 red mana to cast Grinning Ignus, and you, again, start that loop. Now, if you have a Runaway Steamkin and a bur-gee on the battlefield, you can get infinite mana from that by just remembering to, and this is a hard trigger to remember, remembering to remove those 3+1/+1 counters every time you get to a 4/4 power from Runaway Steamkin. So that's the second way we can get infinite mana within this deck. Now, of course, if you have Runaway Steamkin and Hazoret's Monument on battlefield and you're doing Grinning Ignus, it works the exact same way where you can get infinite mana. So there's a couple different combinations where you can get infinite mana. Now, you don't, again, need infinite mana to this game. Again, Banefire is great, but just the infinite enter the battlefield triggers with the Devilish Valet will get you that win. Now, we only really have 3 win cons throughout the deck, which, if you're thinking about a combo deck, that's kind of risky. But what we're going to do is utilize Hazoret's Monument and our Risen Reef to cycle through our deck. And if you're thinking that that's kind of slow, or maybe you're not so sure about that, it's pretty easy to get through this. So with Grinning Ignus, if you just have Grinning Ignus and bur-gee, all you have to do is start that combo without actually having a win con. And if you happen to have a Risen Reef, or a Hazoret's Monument and a single card in hand, you can cycle through your entire deck, which is kind of crazy. You have 7 cards that allow you to, as long as you happen to have these 2 pieces, get you to your win con and close out the game in a single turn. Now, Risen Reef is amazing in this deck. Hazoret's Monument is decent too, but I like Risen Reef even better because we're running copies of Tangled Florahedron, which is an elemental, and Runaway Steamkin, which is an elemental. And in any desperate situation, you can have Grinning Ignis run out because it's also an elemental. Not to mention if you happen to have 2 copies of Risen Reef, they trigger off of each other, which is crazy. Now, this will net you tapped lands onto the battlefield, but that's not really that important, especially if you already have your Grinning Ignis and bur-gee combo assembled, as really what you're trying to do is dig for finisher. Another way to get your finisher is to use Neoform. Depending on the build of the deck, you may be running between 6 and 8 copies of these 1-mana Mana Dorks, and this is a phenomenal outlet to use your Neoform on your Llanowar Elves or your Elvish Mystic to get a Runaway Steamkin. You can also you can go from a Prosperous Innkeeper to a bur-gee Devilish Valet or a Grinning Ignis. Now, mind you, some versions of the deck run more Neoform, some run none. I like to have just 1 in the deck. It's not a necessary, but it is really nice to be able to have that direct tutor in case you do come up empty with a Risen Reef or a Hazoret's Monument, or maybe you just don't have any cards in your hand and you're playing Hazoret's Monument. So we talked a little bit about the ramp already as we were discussing Neoform, but we've got our Tangled Florahedron, and part of that is so that way our Collected Company will hit, but we also have a land and we can reduce on lands here. We also have Prosperous Innkeeper, which nets us a treasure token. Although that's not the best, we can get infinite life out of Prosperous Innkeeper being on the battlefield with Grinning Ignis. So that's kind of another pseudo win con. But really, it's the mana fixing that's the best part. We're running Llanowar Elves and Elvish Mystic. Again, depending on the build that you prefer, you can have more copies or fewer copies. And really, that's the main portion of the ramp. But again, Hazoret's Monument does discount your red creatures, which is phenomenal because, again, your main pieces here are going to be red when it comes to your combo. As I mentioned, we're running Collected Company as well, with just shy of 30 creatures here. It's a really good way to Collected Company into your combo. I've done that plenty of times where you'll happen to have maybe just a bur-gee on the battlefield and you get both a Devilish Valet or Grinning Ignis, or you have a Risen Reef and a Grinning Ignis, and then you use that to cycle through your deck. So overall, the deck's construction is phenomenal in that all of the pieces work really well together, especially being able to cycle through your deck and quickly get to your combo. We are running Jegantha as the companion here. Is it necessary? Not really. One of the nice things that I like about having a companion, though, is if you are out of cards in hand and you want to be using the Hazoret's Monument trigger, just simply pay 3. Let's say you happen to have a Grinning Ignis, a bur-gee, and a Hazoret's Monument. All you have to do is use 3 of the colors mana that you're generating from your infinite mana, pull that into your hand, and then you can cycle for your win con like a Devilish Valet or your Banefire. Some decks don't play the Banefire. I like to have it. I actually ran into a situation just a few minutes ago here where the Banefire was what I really needed, as I did not have the appropriate way to cast a Devilish Valet and a Grinning Ignis, just because of the way that I tapped and the lands that I had. So the Banefire is amazing because all I had to do was get infinite mana with bur-gee and Grinning Ignis, and even though I couldn't cast the Devilish Valet and then cast the Grinning Ignis because I need the red mana for it, all I had to do was send the Grinning Ignis back to my hand after I had over 20 colorless, and then I would have the red mana to be able to cast the Banefire. If that's a little confusing, don't worry about it. We'll get to gameplay in just a second here. So let's go ahead and jump into a few games here. All right, we are playing Explorer Ranked with the Temur Ignus deck. And mind you, we're only at silver here, so we're not super high. We do have the Risen Reef, but given the fact that we have a bunch of basics that are not in the right colors, we really want a red in our hand. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan here. And that's what we want. We've got all 3 colors. We've got a Risen Reef, we've got a Devilish Valet, and we've got Ramp on turn 1. So this is perfect. I'm going to drop one of the Risen Reefs. Of course, turn 1 Elvish Mystic here is what we want to go with, and then turn 2 Risen Reef to start going through our deck. Well, that's a bummer. I'm going to guess that they're in some type of Boros burn. That would be my guess here. They could be, what is it? The Feather style attack deck here. Maybe it's a Knights deck. That's spicy. I like it. All right, let's Risen Reef. Okay, the Neoform is really good here. We might want to Risen Reef again, though, just because we only have one, our finisher, not our combo pieces. Yep, it's got to be a Knight's deck. That's pretty cool. Knight's Tribal. I don't know that I've ever played against that in Explorer. Okay, well, we got another combo piece, and our opponent scoops because we were that good. No, they must have had something else to do. Probably they were just trying to get their arena goals met for the day. I think we've all been there. All right, we are playing best of one again here with Temur Ignus combo. Again, I play combo decks in best of one just because it tends to be a little bit easier to get the win. When you're going to games 2 and 3 with a combo deck, usually your opponent can sideboard in some hate. That's not to say that this deck is soft. It's definitely a very well-built deck that can come back from any type of removal. That being said, it's just a little bit more fun to play the best of one and move on. Not a bad hand, as we've got both Grinning Ignus and Hazaret's Monument. We don't have any blue mana, but I think I'm going to go ahead and keep. We're going to risk it. I don't know if it's worth it, but we'll find out. I think we need to go up our duels. Well, there's the blue. I don't think we needed to. I'm going to guess this is in Soul Artifact, and we might be dead. This is a very fast deck. As Ginger Brute, yep, and there's the Ingenious Smith. Although they don't have blue mana, so maybe this is the mono-white artifacts affinity deck. We want to ramp, but which one? I guess I'm going with Hazaret's Monument first here. I don't know if that's the right call, but we're going to do it. We do have the Neoform, so we could potentially Neoform a Llanowar Elves into a Steamkin. And I think we have our combo, hypothetically. Yeah, this is going to hurt. All that glitters. I love that card. Well, we've got a land here, so we have something to discard to our monument. So that's pretty great. Oh, we can also discard a monument. I'm realizing that now. I think we want to Neoform. We don't have enough to do that. I take that back. I think I'm still going to Neoform away this into a Steamkin. We might be a turn too late here. If they have another... Oh, and there's the portable hole. That hurts. Yep, and that's game. Got outsped. Might have been a misplay on my part too with that. Alright, so let's go through another best of one in Explorer with the Temur Ignus combo deck. Oof. Well, this is not the best hand. We do have a Collected Company, which I really like. And we have all of the mana colors here that are looking for. I'm not a fan of this. There's not a lot to do. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan. Okay. This is a better hand. But what do I want to drop? I think I want to drop the Monument, as crazy as that sounds, as that does give us the infinite mana here, but I want Collected Company in order to be able to get to what we are trying to do here. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have played the Tangled Florahedron. Whoops, I think that was a misplay on my part. I should have used that as a ramp spell second turn. Yep, and of course we're drawing more lands because why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we draw more lands? All right, let's get our bur-gee down. I know that's maybe bad form as it's opening up to removal. We are up against a mono-white deck that might have a Fateful Absence. They might not, but it looks like it's the heroic deck, so I'm not too worried. Yeah, this is going to hurt. This is another very fast deck. Although I'm not sure why they're not playing red as well. I feel like the red-white heroic deck tends to be a little bit better than the mono-white deck, but maybe this is a budget option. I'm not sure. Okay. I think we Coco this turn too. Okay, well that is very good. Now we just have to survive a turn without them killing any of our creatures. Was it correct that I played Coco on my turn? Probably not. I probably should have instant speed Coco, but I wasn't too worried against this mono color deck here. All right, that's game. Let's see if our opponent lets us run through it. Kind of doubting it, but if they're patient enough, we'll get some good video here. Normally, what I would do is also be, yep, and there goes. Opponent concedes. They know what happens. This deck is sitting at just under 1% in terms of the metagame and who's playing what right now. Which seems a little underrated. I feel like this is one of the better combo piece decks within the format right now. There's also an Indomitable Creativity combo deck, which is played reasonably high, as well as an Emery Paradox Engine combo deck, which I like a lot. That's a fun one. Of the, I guess, kind of three main types of combo decks, the first being a traditional combo deck like this, where it's all centered on comboing off. Combo decks that are more control-based, where it feels like a control deck, and then you just win with a combo. I don't hate this hand. I'm keeping it. And an aggro-style deck that just happens to have a combo within it. I prefer this type of a deck that is fully built around the combo and every piece works well with the combo. That's just simply not realistic all the time. All right, we are going to go ahead and play that tapped because we don't have the 2-mana spell slot, so we are going to probably roll out our Monument next turn. It's not great that they're milling us because we go through our deck fast enough, by ourselves. Oh, and there's the valet. I like that a lot. All right, monument comes down. The good news is that our opponent probably doesn't care what we're doing as they're playing. Oh, maybe it's a rogues deck, not a mill deck. Historic tends to be a little bit better for mill because it has some of the extra cards that they put in from Modern Horizons 1 and 2 in Historic Horizons. Although Rogues definitely is a deck that people play within Explore. Although that's not a strictly mill deck. They try to play these mill-based rogues, which are not too out here. And there's the Steamkin. Oh my goodness, this is a good hand. But how do I do this? Because it makes for this. Kind of want a Coco on there to play this properly for once. Ooh boy, because I can't go infinite with Ignis yet. I feel like I should get this Steamkin out, but I don't want to roll it out and accidentally get it blown away by this blue-black deck. We'll take them milling a little bit as we've already got our win con in hand, so it doesn't really bother me. Let's see if we can't get an Ignis or a Steamkin or a bur-gee on the battlefield. Yeah, ruin me, you ruin crab. Yeah. Mill me all you want. Alright, let's Coco. See what we get. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, we got a Steamkin. We definitely want that. I'm tempted to ramp, but to be honest, I don't really care. We already have our combo. I don't think we need anything else. They might go for the kill spell. Yep, that's okay, though, because we've got another Ignis. This is why I wanted a Coco. That was very good. Yep. Okay, well, that's a little bit of a bummer. I was hoping to honestly hit a land, but there's our land. So how do we want to do this? Let's go ahead and discard our monument because we don't need that. I should not have run out the Ignis. Might have been a misplay on my part. Oh my goodness. Whoa, if we come back from this, my goodness. Although, even if I ran out the Steamkin first, I don't think I would have had the win, because it wouldn't have had, it would just been one more +1/+1 count, which wouldn't have gotten me there. But that's the win. That is the game. GG, opponent. Oh, I need to play my Devilish Valet. Not sure what I'm doing here. Actually, you know what? I'm going up against a blue-black deck. Why would I not play the Banefire here? That seems the much safer route. I don't want to get blown out. Although I guess I could always play the Banefire after I play the Devilish Valet, but we got there. I can't believe that they don't have more removal in a Rogues deck, but that's alright. The good news is we have a Risen Reef as a backup as well as a Coco. Milling me out. That's fine by me. Maybe the Rogues deck happens to play only flash creatures. Do I have enough cards in my deck to not be decked? Might not. My own Risen Reef might kill me here. Yeah, this is dicey. With the Valet here, I think we win unless they happen to have another mill card in hand. Alright, we just need one more after this. We clinch it. 32. Thank you, kind opponent. Please don't have anything instant speed to mill me to death. And that's game. See, we punted, but we made it back. My favorite part about this deck is how resilient it is. You know, as much as it may not be as degenerate as some other combo decks or as frustrating, the nice thing is it allows you to keep playing Magic even if you get stumped. Let's play one more here. See if an opponent actually lets us play through the whole combo and kill. Or maybe we can get a combo with just Steamkin and Ignis. We use bur-gee every time. Okay. I don't love this hand. 2 mana, I go first. That's a much better hand. I'm going to drop the Neoform here as we can Risen Reef turn 3. I know maybe the right choice is to keep the Neoform, but maybe I should just drop the Neoform for the deck because I feel like I never want to play it. Alright, our line is Risen Reef. Hopefully hit another creature and continue to Risen Reef. If we don't, we can Ignis to get things kicked off. Yeah, I don't want to shock myself yet. So I'm going to Risen Reef. Playing against a blue deck, which I don't love because counterspells might be the death of us. Worse bounce cards. Okay, creature's good. Wish it was an elemental, but that's alright. Really, a Coco. Hitting a Coco off for Risen Reef is probably the best case scenario here. But blue-red. I wonder if they're playing Blitz. Let's go ahead with you. I guess the right choice here is probably to attack. Can't win this turn, even if we pull the nuts and get a bunch of different creatures here. Yep, we'll go ahead and take action. Love it. Another reason why Gigantha is a phenomenal companion for this deck is it's an elemental. So when you cast it here, which I may end up doing here in 2 turns, depending on what we draw, Risen Reef activates, and it's great. Maybe it's blue-red control. I feel like Blitz would have played something like that. I did see a 1000-Year Storm deck the other day, but that felt pretty fringe. What's the right thing here? I think we want a Stomping Ground, Gigantha, attack. Let's hope they don't have a Flame Sweep or a 3-mana instant deal 2 to everything. So that's my whole board. I have to say, this little goblin friend here is pretty cool. Got my Strixhaven tome from the Prismari school. And of course, rest in peace, Jaya. Okay, well this is what I was expecting 2 turns ago, so I don't know what's going on. Okay, a Phoenix, yeah, it's a Phoenix deck. I don't know why they weren't playing more cantrips. Maybe they had the Phoenix in hand and didn't have the cantrips, but you cantrip into the cantrip. Because I'm expecting Here Comes Phoenix, but I'm really not even worried about Phoenix turn 4. Might as well just, oh, well that sucks. Risen Reef was what I wanted, so that was a very good play by them. Another land. Oh my goodness, folks. Well, hurts. The good news is they probably don't have something to take out my big ol' elemental elk. They may have some type of bounce spell, but I doubt that they're playing, like, what's the name of that one? Soul Sear? Searing something? Searing Pain? 3 mana, deal 5, exile, loses indestructible. I am a filthy liar. They're playing Lightning Axe. Of course they're playing Lightning Axe. It's a Phoenix deck. We may be dead in the water. Oh, that's bad for us. That can get really big really quickly. This feels very reminiscent of old school Phoenix Drake deck. Oh, I almost want to attack, but might just hold up, hope that we top deck a Coco into our combo. Would anticipate we'll be dead here in a couple turns, but gotta keep the dream alive, right? Opt. Or if they're going to hit another Phoenix, in which case they're definitely dead. Well, they've got the 3 spells and the Phoenix, so that's another Phoenix. Yep, that should be game. At least they're killing us quickly, right? Yeah, there's your strength. Go ahead, opponent. You've earned it. Alright, well that's Temur Ignus. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like and subscribe, and I hope you have a fantastic week.